Do you notice that we all have two kinds of friends? One is actually that kind of friend who tells the stories nicely. Like if something happened in the neighborhood, we know Alex will tell us the story rightly. And then we have this other friend who likes to tell us stories all the time, but they can't really tell stories well. And the moment they start telling us the story, we sort of close them out. We be in our bubble and we are only waiting for them to finish. Sometimes we try to come up with another story to sort of cover what they're telling us. However much it is interesting on their side, and these types of friends usually laugh when they're telling us their stories because it is funny to them, but it's not funny to us. It's the same thing that happens when you are a creative, like musician or even visual storyteller. You can come up with a concept that is similar to someone else, but the way you give it out makes people perceive it differently. You can actually make content about the same exact thing as someone else, but people love the other person's version or they love your version better. That is actually because one of you has a gift of storytelling. They understand how to tell a story correctly, so people can quickly relate to it because it is authentic. A story always has a three-act structure. It has a beginning, a body, and the end, which is like the climax. So when you start your story and you introduce people in your story and things happening in your story, they should be moving from one point to another, like from point A to point B. But if your things are not moving anywhere, then your story is all over the place and people can't understand what is really going on. Sometimes when I'm going for meetings, I try to sit down home and I talk to myself like I would talk to the person I'm going to be talking to in a meeting or even a presentation before I present to them. So by the time I'm talking to them, I know I'm driving my story from one point to the other point and I make my points clear. Then I try to do it over time and I try to look for the details that I'm missing out every time I'm telling this story. So by the time I sit down to tell someone a story or to discuss or present to someone, I already know what I'm going to tell them, and I know that even when I'm talking and I'm interrupted, I am keeping notes in my head, and I know from this point, this is what I have to drive to next. You go to meetings and you have meetings with people each and every week, but there is nothing really productive you get out of those meetings because your meetings or your talk with maybe a client or someone is not driving somewhere. It is just a talk you have. So when I'm having conversations with people, I'm always pushing for something. When I'm talking with a client, maybe they have reached out. I try so much to push for a meeting, and when I push for a meeting, from the meeting I try to push for the work until the work happens. And I don't try to be so pushy. I bring it in a way that I have action words that I can use on people. Like we can have a conversation and I ask